So, okay, everyone, my name is Edwin Aldrian. I'm the research professor for meteorology and climatology in BPPT Jakarta. I also work for IPCC since 2009 by invitation of Professor Tanga. So I was the lead author at the time for Assessment Report 5, IPCC Assessment Report 5. What I'm going to introduce to you now today is the report for Assessment Report 6. So I in the IPCC right now since 2015 is working as the IPCC Working Group 1 Vice Chair during the meeting in Dubrovnik, Croatia. So I will be this position until 2023, early 2023. So I think more than 1 year from now. And then I think I represent the country in Southeast Asia and West Southwest Pacific Island. So there are four countries representing this area. One from Indonesia, one from Malaysia. As you know, maybe your fellow scientist from UKM, Joy Pereira, joined this for Malaysia. And then we have another two person from Australia and New Zealand. Okay, I will move to next slide. Okay, I try to make it slow. What is IPCC? I think everyone probably recognize IPCC as one of the Nobel Peace Prize. Yeah, so on the 2007, we received Nobel Peace Prize with Vice President, the former Vice President of the United States, Mr. Al Gore. We IPCC and Al Gore received Nobel Peace Prize for the effort to bring peace by bringing IPCC report. Al Gore by making the video of the movie called Inconvenient Truth. So together we promote the issue of climate change, and then we received the Nobel Peace Prize. So as you know that IPCC is a UN specialized body. It's called IPCC, Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change. It's UN specialized body that deal with the science of climate change. So there are other body with dealing with policy of climate change, dealing with some operational of climate. So it is established in the 1979 by WMO, World Meteorological Organization, and the UN Environment Program. So major product will be mostly limited to the assessment report. So we are now in the assessment report 6, but let me introduce you the first assessment report. Is very much people consider as the leading report to the UNFCCC. And then the second assessment report lead to the establishment of Kyoto Protocol. And then the fourth assessment report, it is famous for the Nobel Peace Prize in 2007. And the fifth assessment report leading to the Paris Agreement. I don't know what kind of action will lead to after the sixth assessment report. But by the way, this is only working group 1 that I'm going to talk today. So working group 1, IPCC is considered as the problem, maybe the problem maker. But the working group 2 and 3 for adaptation and mitigation, people usually consider as the solution of climate change. So please wait until next year when we release the working group 2 and 3, and together we will do something about climate change. So the IPCC is ruling body is governed by plenary session and the IPCC bureau member. I will introduce later about this. So this is the story about IPCC first assessment report or FAR, and then second assessment report or SAR, and then third assessment report and the assessment report 5, assessment report 4 and 5 and so on. So this is the product UNFCCC Kyoto Protocol and then something about Paris Agreement. Okay, so this is the history about IPCC, and then I must say to you that according to the UN Secretary General, we are talking everything on the one language of the UN action. So everything must be related to the sustainable development goal. So as you can see that the climate action it is goal number 13, climate action. So there goal number 1 about poverty and so on like this until goal number 17. So climate action is goal number 13, and this is part of the work by IPCC, UNFCCC, and so on. This is part of the work goal for the IPCC. No, sorry, work goal for UN, United Nations. So right now we are talking about sustainable development goal. So everybody talking about this must be related to this. Let me go back to the history about our civilization. So I must say that we are living in the water planet. Water planet. So our planet is comprised of the Earth's surface has comprised of atmosphere, and then we are lucky that we are covered by the water surface by the ocean and by the ice cover. So if the world has no atmosphere, it will be very cold. I think this is our basic idea that our planet has the natural greenhouse gases. The natural greenhouse gases is the the water vapor. Water vapor is the natural greenhouse gases. It is covering our planet. It gives somewhat warmer in the planet, so that we can live comfortably in this planet Earth. So it will give additional. If there is no greenhouse gas of water vapor, I think the average temperature of the planet will be minus 18 degree. So I once flying from Geneva in January. I forgot which year. I think it was minus 15, and then I was flying to the Khartoum in Sudan, in Africa. In Sudan, Africa, at the time the temperature was 40 degree. So I moved from one freezer to the stove, from freezer to stove, from minus 15 to 40 degree. You can feel it. But the human can stand to the temperature like this. I think this is the natural greenhouse gas. The natural greenhouse gas or the greenhouse gas mostly contributed to the energy sector, a little bit less on the agriculture and forest sector, and more on the industry, transport, and building. So this is a report according to 2010 IPCC report on the I think it's part of the assessment report 5. So again, the comfortability that we receive by living in the earth, I think because of the natural greenhouse gases. So right now, with the natural greenhouse gases, we have additional 1 degree more. I think 1.18 degree right now. It's something like that. It is because of the human-made greenhouse gases. So the goal of the IPCC people say that we want to reach only maximum 1.5 degree. Right now is already 1.18 degree. So this is if you know, this is the history of greenhouse gas in the world right now. You have, for example, the the common three greenhouse gases: CO2, CH4, methane. CO2 is the carbon dioxide, and then methane, and then nitrous oxide. So we can see during the history of of our planet that never reach this kind of high concentration in the atmosphere. So this high concentration right now for CO2, methane, and nitrous oxide has never been reached. So this is quite unprecedented. We call it unprecedented level of greenhouse gases. So if you compare this year or this time with the thousand time or maybe million year, I think never reached to this point. It's the problem right now. So energy we use fossil fuel, for example, that, and then we waste our greenhouse gas to the atmosphere, and then right now the concentration is getting at the level like this. Okay, I want to show you the animation. Oh, okay. I think you can see this animation is of the greenhouse gases in the world. There are almost 40 sites of observation of greenhouse gases. The one on the left is southern hemisphere. The one on the right is the northern hemisphere. This is the red dot here is the observation in Hawaii in Mauna Loa. You can see that the southern hemisphere are usually lower than the northern hemisphere, but it's getting dragged into the higher value. And then right now, during this decade, we already in the level of 400 ppm. 400 ppm is a part per million. So if you take 1 cubic meter of atmosphere in front of you, and then you calculate how many uh, greenhouse gases inside, will come up with number of like 400 ppm. So this is a nice animation. I think you can download this. I think this is uh, you can see that this is it's getting higher and higher for this number. Getting here in the Mauna Loa observation here. Uh, it is the Mauna Loa is the longest we observe greenhouse gas. I think Vice President Al Gore watching this number since his study. So that's why he really keen to this this data and report. So you can see that here is the number of greenhouse gases in the uh, northern hemisphere is much higher than the southern hemisphere, something like this. So this number, if you can extend to the 1,000 year back, you can see what happened. This is you can see in the not 1,000 year but million year. You can see this is we never reach this situation today. The situation today, we call it unprecedented, never happened before in the history. So this is the story of the global greenhouse gases. So this is the real problem right now, because we never reached to this problem before, but never reached to the condition like this during. Okay. Okay, I told you the IPCC bureau member. Uh, Actually, we are 34 person working for IPCC. I am part of that, representing Southeast Asia and then uh, Southwest Pacific. Our chairman is the scientist from Korea, South Korea. He's no climate scientist, but he's economics. And then we have a vice chair of IPCC, one from United States, one from Brazil, and one from Mali. So for working group one, we have two chair from China and from France. This is especially dealing with the science of climate change. and I call it, this is usually gives you the problem of climate change. And this is working group 2 and 3. People waited for the solution of climate change here. And the working group 4, and this is, we call it working group 4, but it is a task force bureau dealing with the method and methodology and how to calculate the inventory and so on like that. You can see this in the IPCC Bureau web page. For Southeast Asia countries, this is the number that is not much. I think people working from this region. We have before Jeman Narisma is the director of in the Manila Observatory, previously working as the GLA, coordinated lead author, but he was passed away in, I think, in few years, I think 1.5 years ago. And then we have another people from Manila, Pecos, also as audience here as a lead author, and 2 people from Indonesia is Mrs. Intan and then Mr. Ishak. Mr. Ishak also in the audience right now. And then we have Pak Fredo Lintangang, Professor Fredo Lintangang, who work as a review editor. I and Fredo Lintangang working as a review editor with different chapter. Okay, so not very much scientists from the Southeast Asia. I think we have some people work as contributing out. So by number, I think 14,000 scientific publication access. So people will see that because this is assessment report, so we only IPCC not doing research. People doing research and then we doing assessment. And then by author team, almost two-thirds of the author in the IPCC report at this time is new people, first-time author like many people from Southeast Asia they are mostly new people, and then we pass through many review process by review comment by country, government comment and so on. So it is very much touched by people they're doing this. But unfortunately, I think this 1.5 years ago, we are in the pandemic, COVID pandemic. So we must work online. It is very hard for us. We must work online and then with the different problem of time zone. So for example, people living in the Southeast Asia must adapt to the time zone of Europe, time zone of the North America, and so on like that. So the working in the time zone is very difficult. The whole world we work on the 1 or 2 time zone. So we produce Climate Change 2021. This is actually the renew of the Assessment Report 5. Assessment Report 5, the last one was released in 2013. Yeah. So this report, 8 years later, I think already 8 years, so it is just renewed by IPCC for assessment report 6. And then we produce from the last one is a summary for policymaker, which was introduced to public on the 9th of August. 9th of August, I think last week in Monday, because on the 9th of August, before that, in the 2 weeks before that, we have a plenary meeting, plenary by government and so on, to agree on the SPM, summary for policymaker. Summary for policymaker is the summary of the report. The report itself is very much like 4,000 pages. I think we already reduced it, but we can't reduce anymore. I think we already struggle for that. So this report will build on the IPCC report number 5 in 2013, and then special report of the AR6 cycle. Special report comprised of IPCC special report 1.5 and then IPCC special report on ocean and cryosphere and IPCC special report on land. So, and then after that we have new evidence on the climate science. So the SPM summary for policymaker report consists of 4 subchapter. It is 10 pages of the summary for policymaker. Which has some highlight of the sentences. We already 4 subchapter. One is the current state of the climate. Number 2 is the possible climate future, and number 3 is climate information for risk assessment and regional adaptation. This is something highlight in this report. And number 4 is a limiting factor, limiting future climate change. So we're talking about COVID pandemic here and so on. What are the limiting factors? For example, the eruption from the volcano and then the forest fire and so on like this. We're talking about the pandemic COVID-19 and so on. So the percentage I want to say here, recent changes in the climate are widespread, rapid and intensifying, and unprecedented in thousands of years. So as you see in the history of greenhouse gases, so the number that we have today, it is unprecedented in thousands of years. And then we are widespread. This is a new thing that we introduced this report. Widespread is going to be more regional, value and so on. Because this again, this is the warming in the past 2,000 years is unprecedented. You can see that the numbers right now here. Right now it is more than 1.1 degree warmer. We hope that it is not over the 1.5. It's not yet in over 1.5 degree. Okay. So it is the last few decades, the warming is matter. So you're talking about greenhouse gas concentration by carbon dioxide concentration is the highest on 2,000 years. This is unprecedented mean. So unprecedented, the sea level rise is the fastest rate in at least 3,000 years. The Arctic sea level at the lowest level of coverage in 1,000 years. And the glacial retreat is unprecedented in the last 2,000 years. So in Indonesia, maybe you hear about this, that we have the glacier melt in the Puncak Jaya, Papua. It is very fast. I think maybe another 20 years it will disappear from the face of the surface of the earth. I think the problem of glacier in Papua, Indonesia, maybe not very much problem compared to the Himalayan and the Greenland. Right now, I heard news that the people in Greenland are panicked because usually they don't have rain. Suddenly they have rain. Usually they have snow. There's snow, thunderstorm, and so on. But snow is usual. But right now they have rain, water, not snow, but water. So they are panicking and making some news. People just panic because Greenland never have this kind of rainfall before. So you have problem here, extreme heat. I think in last month we have warm in the Canadian west, and the heat in the Canadian west, it is more than the heat in the Middle East. They say something like that. It is very new, and we have heavy rainfall. I think last week before plenary meeting of IPCC, we have calamity. In the Germany, we have heavy rainfall and flood. In China, we have rainfall and flood. We have drought maybe, but maybe not in this region. Fire weather, fire weather become now become the problem. Fire weather is the easily of weather becomes uh, to favor of forest fire, to be favor of forest fire. So this is a method to measure the uh, how the weather will support the forest fire, and then if there is a fire, how the weather can support it, it will last longer or not. So the fire weather is something like that. And last one is the ocean acidification and losing of oxygen. I think this is already observed in many parts of the world, and this has become more problem. So fire weather, I think uh, before in the climate change issue, it is not very much discussed. In the assessment report 5, not very much discussed because it is the short-lived climate portion. We consider is a short-lived. The long-lived climate force is the greenhouse gas, but the fire weather is considered as short-lived climate portion. But now it become very important. Why? Because fire is everywhere, not only short, uh, Southeast Asia. We have last week the fire island, and then before that we have some problem with the fire in the uh, southern Mediterranean in the Algeria and so on like this. So it is become issue right now. So unless there are immediate, rapid, and large-scale reduction in greenhouse gas emission, so limiting of warming to 1.5 degree will be beyond reach. I don't know. This is some the sentence is very much political for me. So if you see the future climate emission, future what we see in the climate change right now. Later, I will introduce to you what are the meaning of this. This is a scenario of the possible future climate. So in the plenary, we should replace the term of with number. We have actually with number that scientists understand, and then the politician want us to give a number. The scenario is very low. Scenario is low, intermediate, high, and very high. This is introduced by our report. So we don't use number. Actually, we still use near term, mid term, and long term. So actually, this is the scenario. The very low is 1.5 degree. We have the number is 1.9 watt per meter square, and then 2 degree the number is 2.6 watt per meter square scenario, and then 4 degree is means 7 watt per meter square. I will introduce later. This very additional amount of global warming and changes getting larger. This is at 1.5 and 2 degree. This is the comparison that we use for very low scenario. So we introduce extreme rainfall intensified by 7% additional 1 degree. This is one of the sentence in our summary for policymaker. By additional 1 degree, we introduce 7% additional intensity for rainfall extreme. So it is undisputable that human activity are causing climate change, making extreme climate events, including heat wave, heavy rainfall, and drought, more frequent and severe. So this is the problem of attribute to the climate change. So this is the observed climate change, and then the greenhouse gas effect on the left here, on the right, and this is the aerosol, which are together causing the warming and cooling of the climate of the surface of the earth. So this is observed warming right now become 1.18 degrees Celsius already compared to the pre-industrialized temperature. And then this is the human influence, this greenhouse gas contribution to the warming, and then we can have a aerosol particle contribution can be negative. It gives you cooling, but for the uh, volcano eruption, it is usually gives you cooling. Natural factor can be positive or negative, and then the internal variability. So you must know that this year is there is no El Nino, so mean there's no El Nino. Uh, it, they say it will be La Nina. So the El Nino and La Nina will give the internal variability, sometimes good, sometimes bad to the local climate. So for example, I'm telling you that right now there's no El Nino. It's going to be La Nina. It's very good for the forest fire in Indonesia and maybe Malaysia. So human influence main driver of extreme become frequent intensifier. Then ocean warming was observed from the 1970 and the cause of ocean and the frozen part of the globe is changing. Usually the permafrost is the land that have only the permafrost only ice on the top of the surface. Okay, so 40% of the decrease of sea, the North Pole ice is decreased, and the spring low cover, and in this since the 1950 and so on, something like that. So climate change is already affecting every region of the Earth in multiple ways. This is the message. The change will we experience today will increase with further warming. So what is new about this report? We have two type of regional information. One is the regional fact sheet. Regional fact sheet I will introduce to you later. And then the other one is Atlas chapter. Atlas chapter regional. So both has the information to the risk management and adaptation and regional climate information. So this kind of information will give you the specific information of climate impact driver. This is the terminology introduced by our report, climate impact driver. So we know that global warming is global, but the action in the local is very much determined by the type of climate extreme, the type of climate driver that causing the calamity in the locality. So either heat and cold, rain and
Seems like we lost
stress known to lead severe consequence to people in the agriculture and so on like this. So, yes. Yeah, Pak.
I
So
thought there was a
the
connection with problem. Please proceed.
okay. And then in this report, we have a chapter special on the water cycle chapter, water cycle chapter, the meteorology drought, and then we introduce meteorology drought, and then the uh, uh, agricultural drought, and then the hydrology drought. So there are type of drought, whether this is meteorological drought or hydrological drought. So we introduce cycle changes in the hydrology, flood, and so on like this. So what the monsoon and the natural variability, whether part of this or not. So we have the problem with warmer temperature, the atmosphere can hold more water and more and faster evaporation. The intensifier water cycle actually. This is the problem. We have intensified water cycle. So if we have more global warming, that heavier rainfall, then intensifying dry season and drought. This is can be happening in the many part of the world, in the atmosphere, in the land, the ocean, and then in the frozen region or permafrost. Right. So this report also not new, but I think it meant a little bit discussion on the water rainfall and the monsoon. So the monsoon onset, actually suddenly report talking about the monsoon, and then people like everywhere they say our monsoon and our monsoon. So many people talk about the monsoon in the Africa, in the America, and then the South Asia, in the India, and people like us also talking about we have a monsoon problem itself. So this is a new idea introduced in this report. Annual rainfall on land increasing on monsoon, which is changing in complex and many ways. So in this report, we introduced the interactive atlas. It is very new. I'm very happy because I also part of this who introduced this into IPCC. I said that we must use technology, we must use innovation to make better public understanding better. So people will understanding better if they not only see everything by PDF and printing paper. So we have some animation and people can zoom a little bit more and less. So during the plenary, I must tell you that this is part of the problem. People, the government delegation asking about the legal basis of this type of report, the interactive atlas. And then by the end, the IPCC secretariat said that this is not of the report, but it is supplementary report. So because they're not defining how to put into a legal portion of the interactive atlas. So I must say to you that this chapter interactive atlas, you can open this one, the interactive atlas at ipcc.cs, and then you can see, and then you can play, and then but this is the climate of the 2021 only, but it is even better with the interactive atlas. You can play this, uh, and then part of this you can. I think I must show you to you. Maybe later or right now. I must show it to you. Okay, I will show you part of this one. I changing the I changing the I will show you the this is the chapter of Interactive Atlas region. Okay. For example, this is the database of the climate scenario from CMIP 6, CMIP 5, the old one, and I must say that this is a codex, or there is a codex of Southeast Asia. I think this is the one that I and Professor Tanga and Faye Cruz working with right now. So people can play around and can see what are the climatic change happening in the region, and this is season and value and type of variable. I'm sorry, it is very slow to you, maybe even slower in your computer. But the idea is I must stop this. It's very slow. And then I'm sorry. I have to move again from interactive atlas. I thought it would be easy. I think it's not easy to move. Okay. I think you can see by yourself https interactiveatlas.ipc.cs. So this is something new in this report that we introduced the interactive atlas. The interactive atlas is one chapter in the IPCC assessment report 6, and the infrastructure for the computer is provided by the government of Spain. So during IPCC report number 5, we was helped by the government of Netherlands to make the atlas, but not interactive. By this IPCC report number 6, we call it interactive atlas, so people can play around, and it is there during the after the release of assessment report 6. Okay, the next one, the regional issue also established by the regional fact sheet of Asia. For example, this is fact sheet of Asia section. During this report, we also introduced this regional fact sheet of many parts of the world. So the Southeast Asia section, it is only one region in the whole report. For example, here it's very part of the Asian report. So it says something like this one. Southeast Asia future warming will be less than global average. This is, I think, we don't receive the warming as much as the global, and the observed rainfall trends are not spatially coherent and consistent across the set, and more rainfall in the northern region and then less rainfall in the southern region. I think people in Indonesia already know about this. And then compound impact on the climate change, land subsidence, the human activity, the I think the water from ocean coming to the water intrusion to the land. For example, the paddy field in the Mekong Delta River in the Vietnam and Thailand, and also in Indonesia, it is happening. And then it gives you the story about significant weather issue like tropical cyclone and number of cyclone and the monsoon, something like this. So this is the Asia section of fact sheet. And then for the monsoon climate, I tell you the three story in the summary for policymaker. This is the number A, meaning the number what is going on right now. Number B means what happening in the future climate scenario, and there is another one is the highlight sentence. So we have like this one, number A, decrease of global monsoon in 1950 to the 1980 to the human cause. For example, most the move into the Southeast Asia, East Asia, and Southwest Asia, something like that. So it is in the highlight sentence we call it continued global warming is projected to further intensify of the global water cycle, including variability, monsoon precipitation, and wet and dry events. So I think by the end, there is nothing going back. We cannot go back and say something. It is not happening, but it is already happening, and will be part of our problem in the future climate. So ocean and ice sheet also. I think this is maybe chapter 9, ocean temperature, then ice sheet and sea level rise. Sea level rise will be chapter 10 something. Okay, this is part of it. So some changes could be slow and other could be stop and limiting warming. To limit global warming, strong, rapid, and sustained reduction in carbon dioxide, methane, and other greenhouse gases are necessary. This will not only reduce the consequence of climate change, but also improve the air quality. I think there is a special chapter on the air quality. I believe it is chapter 6, talking about the air quality. This is not been discussed before in the assessment report 5 and below. So I must introduce to you a type of scenario or model estimate. Right now in the assessment report 6, we introduce the new model scenario. We call it a shared socio-economic path, SSP. So shared economic path is I think new to the previous one. Previous one we call RCP, concentration pathway, and so SSP also with how much energy on the global average. So if you see SSP 1.5, meaning that the whole globe, the whole surface of the Earth receive energy 1.9 watt per meter square. So this usually related to the scenario 1.5 degree. As you can see here, is the Earth scenario will be maximum 1.5, and then can be crossing 1.5 into 1.6 and 1.5. This is around 1.5 degree. So SSP 2.6, meaning that the whole globe receive additional energy 2.6 watt per meter square. So in the near term and long term, the temperature of the globe will be rising and rising. So right now the working group 3 working the SSP 3 or 7.0. That means the whole surface of the Earth will receive additional energy 7.0 watt per meter square. So you can see this is an additional temperature increase in the long term compared to the short term and so on. Previously in the assessment report 5, we use energy 8.5 watt per meter square. This is consider we are doing nothing. If we do nothing, business as usual, we consider as the surface of the globe receive 8.5 watt per meter square energy. So this type of the climate scenario is we call it in the government delegation language become very low, intermediate, high, and very high. So this is the type of scenario they want us to say. So not by number but by word. Low emission, intermediate emission, high and very high. Okay. So we also introduced in this report the cause of climate change due to carbon dioxide and non-carbon dioxide like methane and so on like that. So we introduced division of the type of emission from carbon dioxide and non-carbon dioxide from methane and so on like this because it is important for agriculture and land use cover change. But I also want to say to you that I really honest to say to you that actually the report of the assessment report 6 that we have right now is very much concentrated on the issue of 1.55 degree. This is renewed from the IPCC special report 1.5 degree released in 2018, 3 years ago. So 3 years ago and 3 years later, right now, we introduced the IPCC report, assessment report 6. So actually, for example, this is a study from World Research Institute. After they see our report, they say five highlight. They say during our report, two of them talking about the 1.5 degree. So 1.55 degree it is the highlight in this report, and the rest number 3, number 4, number 5 is nothing new. This is about the understanding of climate science and changing of unprecedented in the story, and then become widespread warming and become more dangerous and costly impact. But I noticed in this report by World Resource Institute, they criticize our report. They say that actually our scenario, we say that we may crossing the 1.5 degree because right now it's already almost 1.2 degree uh, compared to pre-industrialized time. So it is almost close to 1.5. So, and in the report 3 years ago, IPCC special report 1.5 degree, we say that the bad scenario that happened to all scenario that we are crossing 1.5 degree at least in 2052. Actually, our report said that we might pass or we might cross 1.5 degree in our report in assessment report 6. We may cross 1.5 degree at least at least 10 years earlier, 10 years earlier than the previous report. That means in previous report we say 2052. So here we say that 2042. So 2042 we may cross. So if I introduce to you that the scenario 1.9, which is very slow and very low emission, we may cross into 1.6 degrees Celsius. So we are already cross 1.5. But this report by World Research Institute actually rejected by, for example, this is climate reality. You can open right now Google and see what the report of climate reality. They say we are not reaching 1.5 earlier than previous thought. So this is still debatable. But actually the IPCC report based on consensus, and then consensus say that we may cross it at the time faster than the previous report. So the climate we experience in the future depend on our decision right now. I think this is the message in the assessment report number 6. Okay, thank you very much, everyone. I hope you enjoy my talk, and then I can summarize this. My summary is actually part of the press conference by IPCC in the 9th of August 2021. Okay, you can contact me by my media link, by my web, by my Facebook, by my Twitter and YouTube and so on. Okay, thank you very much. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.